Star Trek 57, M23, take 2.
Star Trek podcast.
You smell like a girl. All the other girls on the ship, they look just like Tina. You're the only one who looks like you. You can understand, can't you? You know about being with somebody, wanting to be. If I had the whole universe, I'd give it to you. I see you, I feel like I'm hungry. All over. Hungry. Do you know how that feels?
This is like like one of the first Star Treks ever made. This episode, like, there's no Sulu.
Are we starting the episode?
There's no Scotty. I'm podcasting. I'm going right in.
Check it out, Dan.
Yeah.
Jesse's just getting started right away.
Getting right into it.
Yeah,
All
I'm
right.
fine with that.
I'm cool with that too.
All right. What were you saying?
There's Kirk.
Early...
There's Spock. There's Uhura. There's no Scotty. There's no Sulu. There's no. What's his name comes later. Walter Koenig.
Yeah, he's a season 2. He's
check
a
off.
Season 2 edition. All right, how about this? Okay. Jesse's raring to go tonight, which is a good thing. But first, we must take care of a few bits of business. Bit of business number 1.
I wasn't aware that we had business.
There's weekly business, Jesse.
Okay.
We've been doing this a while.
I'm sorry.
Weekly bit of business.
Every episode's a new episode.
All right.
Weekly bit of business number 1. This is the It's Got Star Trek podcast.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
And we welcome you to said podcast.
Yep. Welcome.
That's bit of information number 1.
Wow.
Bit of information, bit of business.
So informative.
Number 2 is, this is episode 159.
59.
Yes,
dudes.
I have that as well.
of the podcast.
Do you concur?
159 dudes.
Yes.
Okay.
Bit of business number 3 is again, very briefly. Very briefly.
Do you say again or do you say again?
I don't ever say again.
It depends on the context.
I say it if I'm being
I think
silly.
do Canadians say again?
Not that I know of.
Canadians say process. So
let's move on.
All right. We got that settled.
Yes. So the next bit of business is a brief description of how did we arrive at the episode we're discussing, which the audience members know. Audience members know will be Charlie X from the original series. And we're going to talk about the production order business, production order versus airing order versus whatever order, in terms of where this episode falls.
Because I think it was different.
TOS was a little weird at the beginning.
Yeah, okay.
But the first step is a reminder to traditional listeners.
Traditional listeners.
I don't know. Whatever,
trads.
Whatever the
Trads.
appropriate term is. Regular listeners. That's a better one, right? That's a more sensible thing to say.
Yes, that's
All
reasonable.
So, regular listeners will be familiar with this whole algorithm business that Dan has pulled together.
Because
new listeners,
we've used it a couple of times.
New listeners will not be familiar with this, but I think you'll get what you need. You'll get the information you need through context clues.
Mm-hmm.
We're good at that on this podcast. It is one of the things we do pride ourselves on the It's Got Star Trek
Context
podcast,
clues.
is context clues.
That's what I think about every night.
We got a lot of inside jokes.
And he's not even joking, Dan, about the context clues. All right, but yes, briefly with the algorithm, Dan. This week we did arrive at Charlie X, and we did get that title due to your brilliant algorithm, which analyzes the previous week's podcast episode and combines that with an analysis of all scripts of Star Trek, pretty much,
give
or take.
minus a few of the later ones.
And then
Yeah, the ones you don't care about.
via some calculation, which to this day remains somewhat opaque, even to Jesse and I here, determines, it spits out a list of options
I'm not
for
smart
us.
enough.
Now, this is a new thing we've been trying for the past few weeks, and it is in part to help deal with the fact that when we started this podcast, we set up this sort of ridiculous pattern of jumping around the entire Star Trek universe, which is probably not great for audience retention, but it is fun for our particular.
Because we're not sellouts. That's why.
It's a utopian disregard.
I think it's more of an attention thing on our parts,
Yeah.
as opposed to like doing what most of the sensible Star Trek podcasts, like Green Shirt, for example, or Open Pike, or any of those other, where they're going through like in order.
Right. No, it was definitely.
We're not doing that.
No.
I mean, we do that when there's a new show on, as regular / traditional listeners.
There's no need.
Will understand.
Everybody's got their own style.
But we've been trying this algorithm thing just to help us pick, like, how do we pick the next episode that we're gonna
It's
talk
been a
about.
fun diversion because otherwise it was so like
It was maddening.
We'd have to like sort of like look at what have we talked about.
Have to have Zoom meetings and sometimes elevated to in-person meetings in order to just hash out which episode we would discuss.
Oh, it's
next.
getting it's Wednesday. What are we gonna do?
If it was really bad, we'd have to have a Slack huddle.
Yeah. But so Dan has been working for quite a while on this brilliant algorithm. I'm assuming it's brilliant.
Well, I haven't made any updates since I originally made it, but I'm planning to make some this weekend.
Well, so here's the issue. There have been minor issues each week. This week, the issue, if I recall correctly, Dan, last week we discussed Honor Among Thieves from Star Trek Deep Space Nine, Season 6, Episode 15.
Right.
And you ran that through the analytical meter algorithm business. And this week, it spit out a list that was entirely Deep Space Nine episodes, correct?
Yes, it did.
Okay. So that was problem number one, because we like to jump
I recall
around.
that, yes.
Problem number two, wait, was past tense on there again?
Again.
Yes, it was farther down the list. It was
Okay.
in 7th this time.
So that's progress, because I know we've had people ask us whether past tense was still on the list. I think Tarek, who was a guest hosted a few weeks back on the podcast, he was asking if it again had past tense on the list. Yes, Tarek,
yes,
it did.
it did. I'm sorry, it was number 9th, so it moved down the list.
It did move down the line.
That was the number 9th. But you know what? And this may sound bad, but this is actually a good sign, is that the very first one for episode Honor Among Thieves, the first result we got for what we should do next the following week was Honor Among Thieves.
Okay.
So it suggested the same episode that we just reviewed, which is good because that means that it's working. That means it's working and detecting that we said the same words and it matched our podcast up. It said, hey, this podcast on Honor Among Thieves you just did, according to that podcast, you should watch Honor Among Thieves again.
There could be some small debate on the definition of the term working.
If that's working.
Well, I mean, it just means that it matched up like the amount of words with because that means we said the most words in common with Honor of Thieves. Honor Among Thieves.
You are looking at it from the perspective of somebody who wants to see that their algorithm is not pulling some random business, right?
Right. Exactly. There is something happening.
Some association between the result and the input.
Right. It's not just a random number.
Which is great.
Yes.
And I'm right there with you.
I'm not saying it doesn't need tweaking. I'm just saying that this is a good sign.
Yes. I'm right there with you. But yes, I think it's moving in the right direction. But I think that may indeed be indicative of some tweaks needing to be made. But we'll continue to work on them, because what happened was Dan then tweaked some magic buttons, flipped some dip switches or some business, and reran the calculation, and it came out with these excellent suggestions, including Charlie X, which was right up near the top of the list. Probably past tense again. I don't remember.
Yeah,
but
I'm wondering. The past tense one is weird. I'm wondering what about that keeps coming up.
It could be that it's almost the year 2024.
Maybe we need to talk about
Roko's basilisk is trying to give us a warning that civilization's about to collapse, and we're all going to be putting people into camps again and stuff like that.
I mean, yeah, it could be that. It could have something to do with the fact that it's a part 2 episode, so it's longer. Although I don't know why that would affect it directly. It could also maybe it's just. Maybe when I add the stop words in there,
Well, regardless,
and the fact that we keep mentioning it.
We do.
Podcast.
That's true. Now Jesse might be onto
doing
something.
it. We're doing it
right now.
Yeah.
So in past tense. Apple Podcast. All right. So
but I was
Cisco.
talking. I was talking about how I wanted to like exclude certain words like it and the, and then we got a tweet from Nap Time telling us that those are called stop words.
Yes.
So I didn't know that. Thank you for that information.
yes, thank you, Nap Time.
Because
that was helpful.
that was exactly what I was looking for, and that's one thing I'm going to try to incorporate this weekend is to try to ignore all the words like the and it and things
past
like
tense.
And past tense. Well, they don't exactly, but they don't say like you pointed out last week. They don't like say like this was the past tense of the.
No, but we're saying it.
But you keep saying it.
But that's
the scripts do have the title of the episode in it, so it's at least there.
No, you know what? Actually, no. The scripts don't have the title.
Are you sure?
Yes.
What about the file name? There's got to be something indicating. Is it just a serial number?
It's just a number. It says like, for example, TNG_000. Which is why I had to take a separate file with titles and like match it up with that. And of course, the title file has a different order than this transcript file. So like, you were just talking about taking it all back around to the beginning. TOS, you were talking about how the order of episodes is kind of weird.
Yes.
So what was remind me, what was the first episode in production with Pike? What was that?
Okay, so this is the trick.
And I brought it back for a reason, because it has to do with my
Dan
algorithm.
is a segue master.
Yeah.
He's still boning up on his algorithmic credentials, but segueing, there's nobody competes with Dan when it comes to segue.
Because we talked about the Pike pilot that was unaired, and then we went on to talk about where no man has gone before.
Yeah. So here's the cage is the original Star Trek pilot. Production number
What's a palette?
1. That's a line from Pulp Fiction that Dan's doing.
It's a palette.
See, Dan, the thing is,
holiest of holies.
we have some younger listeners, and they're not necessarily familiar with Pulp Fiction as anything other than a meme.
They need to get there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't sell out for no one.
Is that a line from a movie, or is that just your general attitude?
That's just my attitude.
That's okay.
That's been his attitude.
That and don't tell me how to be.
All right. So, the cage was production number 1, and that was the original pilot. NBC didn't like aspects of it. They asked for tweaks.
It was too cerebral.
So they filmed a second pilot, Where No Man Has Gone Before, with William Shatner and more serious Spock, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That was production
Smiley Spock
number 2. But they didn't air Where No Man Has Gone Before first. They aired The Man Trap first.
And that's the sequence on Paramount Plus.
And I think The Man Trap it might be production order 4. So I think it was the 4th episode produced. Charlie X, which we will eventually discuss this evening. Charlie X was the 7th TOS episode produced.
Really?
But it was the second that aired, but it's production order number 8 overall because of the cage.
And he's got a green shirt on.
And he's got that green shirt. Kirk's got the green shirt on,
which is on like the earlier ones.
Yes. So they.
It's so fucking.
And
weird.
Apparently,
my head hurts already.
If you can go
the
by
60s, man.
If you want to go by Memory Alpha as well as a few other sources, they basically aired it because I think it was ready to go, and they had a couple reasons to do different orders for things, like depending on which characters were there, what they thought would catch the audience's attention. I think in this case, it just happened to be it was done or close enough to done that it was ready to air, and they needed to do some more special effects for some of the later from some of the episodes that were technically produced first but aired later.
It's a very accessible episode.
So okay. This sort of relates to what I was saying about the algorithm, is because I was talking about I had the transcript file, and the transcript file, instead of having the titles, they just have like, TOS underscore 001. So what underscore 000 is the first episode. And in the transcript file, the first episode was, I believe, was The Cage, because that was the one with Pike.
That's definitely the first episode produced. It never aired on network television. It didn't air during the original thing. It didn't air until like the 80s.
Right. So I'm saying the transcript file had that as number 1.
Or like maybe the 90s.
But the title file had as number 1, Where No Man Has Gone Before.
Yes.
That's what the title, because I had a script file and a title file, 2 different files, one representing just the titles and one representing the script, and I had to combine them. So the first one in the script file was The Cage. The first one on the episode title file was Where No Man Has Gone Before, and the title file had to split them into Where No Man Has Gone Before Part 1 and Where No Man Has Gone Before Part 2, but the script file had them as one episode.
It's just one episode.
So it's just like all over the fucking place. Like, you see what the problem is, like, they list two different episodes as the first one, and then for the script file, a two-parter is put into one serial number, and then in the title file they list them separately. So I had to do I have to do a lot of manual like editing of this fucking
It's
title file because it's so goddamn confusing.
Now
and
I'm getting a
and now you're talking about now you're talking about the whole thing about which is the one that was the fourth in production, but then it was episode
The Man Trap.
The Man Trap. Now you're talking about that, and that's an even like I thought this was confusing enough, but then there's
Have we discussed that one?
No, we haven't.
No, we haven't. I've watched that one.
This is an issue that does not come up with basically any of the other Star Trek series because pretty much those aired in production order, or regardless, even if there was a little bit of this, that, or the other thing in terms of production because of a particularly big episode or something, it was straightforward and uncontroversial for the most part. The main controversy in TNG and some later series is whether to count certain 2-part episodes as 1 part or not. Yeah, there's a whole debate there.
Yeah.
But when it comes to being like nerdy, right? You want there to be some definitive structure that you follow. And of course, in the case of TOS, mainly season 1, there just isn't, because the production order and the airing order in season 1, it didn't make any sense. So different places have taken different strategies on. A lot of the places have just decided to do airing order. So Paramount Plus, IMDb, Wikipedia, Google, a lot of those things. Google, they opt for airing order.
But I think
Memory Alpha opts for production order, which is confusing. Now, by default, I think I'd be more into production order. But in the case of TOS,
we're following production order, right?
So in this, so
yes and no
for our podcast.
Wait, so when I'm looking at Google, it says TOS season 1 episode 1 is The Man Trap, season 1 episode 2 is Charlie X, and season 1 episode 3 is Where No Man Has Gone Before.
Yes.
And you were saying, wait, which one? Where No Man Has Gone Before? That's the first one.
That's the first one we filmed of the Kirk era.
We talked about that.
But
like, the first
but Paramount Plus does it in production order too.
No, they do airing order.
So it's different. I was trying to say Google. I was trying to combine Google and Goofy, and then I realized I can't do that. It's one or the other.
Memory Alpha,
Google.
and the part.
Googie.
We don't need to belabor this discussion because everyone listening has had some version of this debate with their friends and colleagues at some point in time.
South Park had an episode where they were talking about.
Yeah,
that.
they were kind of talking about the number of episodes,
right.
in terms of
and I think,
whether you count 2-part episodes as 2 episodes.
But I think the gag was Butters knew extra much. Everyone was arguing about the do you number the 2-parters? But then the gag was Butters at the end was like start talking about the cage,
the Man Trap.
Yeah, I think he brought up that angle, which none of them were arguing about in the first place.
Well, where that comes up a lot is like in TNG, you have Encounter at Farpoint, which aired as an extended pilot, but then in syndication was divided into 2 episodes. So that can goof up things, for example.
Okay.
But anyway, this is just a debate that's out there. Jesse, I have a default preference for production order because it sort of makes sense in my mind that, they want the story told in that order.
Yeah.
However, with TOS, I actually had to go back and double check and look how we've been labeling them. We've been labeling them. We've been labeling them,
you guys.
We've been
You guys, we've been labeling. Hey, guys, we've been labeling them. We've been labeling them.
What is this voice?
I don't know.
We're just trying out a new character dynamic.
Excuse me.
But we have been labeling. We've been labeling them using the airing order, the order that the episodes have aired. Now that's that's just a fascinating conversation that we have just concluded.
Okay.
All right.
Well, no, because we do the first TOS with Kirk We did.
But we labeled that as the pilots because we started the podcast. Okay.
God damn it! Now we're back.
Now I'm confused.
We were done, and now we're back.
Dan's good at segues. Jesse's good at whatever the opposite of a segue is.
Confusion.
It's like where you
Distraction.
It's a U-turn where you start going back. At the beginning of our podcast, when we started our podcast many eons ago, we started by doing we did the pilot episodes of every single series in order of series coming out. And the peculiar thing for TOS is we did both The Cage and Where No Man Has Gone Before because they were the pilot episodes. They were the ones that were, got the show going in the production sense. But then after that, we've been labeling everything from airing order. All right.
I have two questions. I have two questions.
Two questions.
One, do you pronounce? Have you ever heard anyone pronounce it controversy?
Not until just now.
Wow. Controversy. My mom had a professor that said controversy.
Controversy? No. I've heard of controversy or controversy.
I can see how
controversy. I've heard.
I've never heard controversy.
Controversy. Controversy? No.
Jesse?
No.
Jesse sees it. Jesse knows what I'm talking about.
I could see how somebody might say that, but I've never heard anyone say that.
My mom had a professor that said it. My second question
Where was it? Where? What school was this?
Probably like Indiana University where she went or whatever.
come
or University of Indiana. Which is the one? University of Indiana or Indiana University? Which is it?
I do not know.
It's the one with the music school. Second question.
You've been doxxed.
How long could you lay in a pile of raw chicken before you got sick?
Okay, all right. I know what Dan's getting at here. Can you say that again, just so because Jesse and I stepped on that a little bit with our laughter. What's this? This is a legitimate question Dan had prior to recording the podcast.
How long would it take to lie on a giant pile of raw chicken before you got some kind of sickness?
Okay, just as we explained before the podcast recording. When Dan had asked this question, we do not have enough information. Jesse and I agreed that we do not have enough information.
And you're naked. You're absolutely completely naked.
I'm not a poultry farmer.
I do not
want to be a poultry farmer.
I don't know what the situation would be in lying in a
Could you imagine
bed of raw chicken.
If you got your holes all up in there?
Your what?
Like if you were naked.
Your holes?
Your naked holes?
Man, like my main question in this scenario is whether these are whole chickens or if they're quartered. Are they quartered?
They're just a bunch of they're just a bunch of cut up chickens. Bunch of raw chicken
parts. Is
there
skin on?
It's a mix. There's skin on everything. First of all,
skin on everything.
But you got a mix of just the chicken breasts and then some quarters, or maybe just some pulled chicken. Just a big old mix. What
about like
the chicken?
What about
potpourri of chicken parts?
What about like the giblets and the necks?
Yeah,
and stuff?
Sure.
The hearts, the chicken hearts,
gizzards,
even the pink,
kidneys,
even the pink goo or whatever they call
chicken
that
livers.
Shit they make chicken nuggets with or whatever.
Pink goo.
That's when they shove a chicken through like a fucking mesh and it just goo comes out on the other side.
Right. You've provided us with all sorts of wonderful.
Okay, it's
imagery.
just some food for thought.
Dan Purdue Globitz.
It's one of those. It's a new segment we're trying out, which is Dan asks questions unrelated to the topic of the podcast.
Yep.
All right.
Got chicken.
So. Charlie X. We've gotten there in the end. Charlie X.
Here we are.
What I will say about your algorithm, Dan, is that it did pick a good episode to talk about. Because this episode, I hadn't seen this in forever.
Yeah.
I remembered it just like, oh yeah, like kind of God baby-ish. Watching it now, I honestly don't know. It might have been 15 years since I've seen this movie or seen this episode. And I'm just like, Jesus fucking Christ.
Yeah, there were some pretty awful parts in this. Like, awful as in, like, I was just like, ew, you know?
It was...
Like when he smacked that girl in the ass.
Yeah. Rand. Is she a yeoman still at this stage, right?
Yeoman Janice Rand.
She gets promoted later.
So this guy, this was played by Robert Walker Jr., who played Ray Garrett on the show In the Heat of the Night.
That's right, yeah.
He was also in Columbo.
You remember In the Heat of the Night?
Mind Over Mayhem.
I do.
Robert Walker was, they approached him, according to Memory Alpha, in the 90s, the Star Trek producers, Rick Berman et al., approached him to play a part on Deep Space Nine. But he had already, I think, retired from acting for a long time at that stage, and declined to take the job, but he almost was in another episode. I wonder if they were going to have him play like a creepy motherfucker.
Yeah, because that was some creepy shit.
Yes, he had a creepy look to him. And right at the beginning, we start with the teaser. So they have this the cargo vessel Antares. Kirk refers to it as the Antares.
Antares. With a crew complement of 20 people.
Captain Raymer. Charlie Evans.
I thought it was Raymert, or is it? I think it's Raymert.
It might be Raymert.
I don't know. And then Navigator Tom Nellis.
Well, they beam over, and everyone's immediately like, "Dude, this kid's weird."
Yeah,
and everyone's getting the vibe that he's weird. And then just to make sure you don't fucking miss that clue, they play that like weird music.
Raymart.
You know, like the music from the episode was all like, he's like this is a weird guy. And it was a little jarring because the music's all like, this guy's weird. Everyone's looking at each other like, this fucking dude is a weirdo. And then it would all stop, and he would smile, and everything would be all like, hey, come on.
He was always walking into a room smiling, all like, hey,
yeah,
I'm smiley, guys.
I think the actor might be Robert Walker might have been a weirdo in real life.
Yeah,
he inhabited this role a little too well.
Yeah.
No disparagement upon Mr. Walker, but he might be a real life weirdo.
So they were the captain and the navigator were looking at Charlie all weird at first, and then Charlie did his scary face. And when they play, and then they play the like orchestra, the horn hit where it's like, and like he suddenly they liked him. So that was his first like magic trick that we see him do is he does that, and they go from thinking he's like, they seemed uncomfortable around him, and then they start. But then when he did that, they started being like, oh, he's the greatest. We're just gonna miss him so much. So what's the premise? They're getting rid of him just because he needs a ride to the Colony 5 or whatever. Colony Alpha 5.
I think they're getting rid of him because it's time to get rid of him.
Yeah, he's creeping them out.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Like,
hey, here's the thing.
Hey. Were they knowingly putting the Enterprise in danger? If they've got this weirdo who's causing bullshit around the ship, and they're just like secretly passing it off to the Enterprise.
Yeah. So like for example,
is this a Starfleet ship that or the Antares, or is it just some kind of like
season 1 TOS? So all this shit's totally unclear.
So we don't know if it's some private vessel or a Starfleet
Earth
ship.
Colony 5.
Some kind of bozo
but
organization.
Either way, you don't just hand off some psychic weirdo to like some other ship and hope that they don't kill them.
Narratively, that's why the Antares dies, and not to jump to the end, but they don't get rescued in the end. They don't get rebooted,
right?
And they don't get rebooted because they're assholes.
Because they're assholes, right?
And
they were assholes in the first place.
But here's the problem.
Really.
Here's the problem. The thing that's upsetting about it is like they're understandable assholes.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't do the heroic thing. The heroic thing is, oh, this guy's shady, we should blow this ship up. We should whatever.
Yeah.
We should try to resist whatever mental torture he's putting us through.
Because fucking space this motherfucker.
Because he didn't. Charlie does not have the power to make them like him, but he can hurt them. And so when he does his little power squish face look at the beginning of this teaser,
he does have that weird squish face.
They start being ingratiating to him and making him, talking him up, not because he's controlling their mind, of course, but because they're afraid that he's going to torture them. So they didn't do the heroic thing, but I also understand. I feel bad for these people because they seem to have been like tortured by this fellow for who knows how long since they found him and picked him up off of this planet. And now they found a way to get rid of him.
Right.
and they're taking
Starfleet.
it, even though yes, the proper hero like Kirk and Spock, etc. They're like, well, we can't let this kid go anywhere. This is terrible.
He's
gotta
not
stop
going
this.
to Earth Colony, whatever.
Earth Colony 5.
Colony Alpha 5.
This is at the Alpha 5.
Earth Colony 5.
Colony Alpha 5.
Earth Colony 5 means what? It's only for humans?
Yeah, it was Earth Colony 5.
There's no like Vulcan Colony 5?
At first, they just call it Colony 5.
They call it Colony Alpha 5.
I never remember Colony Alpha.
There was
5.
no Alpha, man.
Yes, there
it
was.
was
That
Colony
was the
5.
first thing they
They
said.
said Earth.
Captain's log, stardate 1533.7. We have taken aboard an unusual passenger for transport
You're gonna read
to
the whole thing.
Colony Alpha 5.
Alpha 5.
I don't remember that.
Well,
I
it's in
remember
the fucking.
Colony 5.
It's right in the. It's his first.
I've got
it's the
the
first captain's
transcript.
log.
All right,
It's
all
the first captain's
all right.
log.
I'm willing to concede that my memory
What was
has
the start
failed
date?
me.
15?
But I thought it was peculiar when he kept referring to it as Colony 5 and Earth Colony 5 because it sounded weird.
Sounded Earthocentric.
It is definitely. So they talk about Earthers.
So we're talking about
Earthers for real, dude.
So we're talking about Charlie's powers. He can't make them love, but he has the power of Thasians, which can
Transmute matter.
They can transmute and make things invisible. Now
they can do all sorts of weird stuff.
When they made Spock like do all those nursery rhymes, he's all going like, "There's a tiger burning bright in the forest of the night," and he was all like, "I'm trying to Saturn rings around my head down a red road that's Martian red."
Good point. He was able to force Spock to do that. But
once upon a midnight dreary, while I pondered week and weird. Now, how does that fit under the category of transmutation?
Yeah, and the other thing there is,
I guess you could say he forced his lips to move in a certain way,
because Spock was kind of doing that whole like he wasn't doing it casually.
Yeah.
It wasn't free flowing out of him.
His voice sounded different.
He got all tense.
I will give them great credit.
And then he called him Mr. Ears, which was racist.
The writers did a good job here in this teaser, sneaking in a bunch of like just blatant exposition when they're dropping Charlie off, this crew, Captain Raymert, and within like 3 lines of dialogue, we learned like Charlie was alone on a planet for most of his life. The crew complement of the Enterprise is 428 people.
Yeah, they really packed him in.
Yeah, and so like they get this information across fairly efficiently. I mean, it jumps out at you it's not like it's hidden. And then of course the teaser ends with this the whole weird. Like we're already weirded out by Charlie, but then it's like, is that a girl?
Yeah, he's like, yes, Charlie,
that's a girl.
Yeah.
Is that a girl?
Not a girl. Jeez.
And from this moment, you're like, okay, all right, I see what they're gonna do here. This guy's a piece of shit. This is incel. This is like proto incel.
Well, none of
action.
this. So this.
Why can't I smack her on the ass?
I mean, so Kirk was talking to him about like interrupting. He's like, that's considered wrong,
Kirk was like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah. So I mean, this guy, and they said like he's basically a boy at a 17-year-old's body. So it is kind of fucked up that he like, okay, do we want to talk about why the Thasians gave him his powers? That's such a mystery. Why did they give him his powers? They said to get him to live, because I guess there was a transport crash, and what are we to assume that the Thasians came by and saw him and were like, well, this guy's gonna die, so we got to give him powers so he can make himself live? Why didn't they simply just make shit for him?
My understanding is that you're right. They could have made something for him. I took it as they gave him the powers to transmute stuff so he could create food, right?
Because he was talking about it was just rolling around.
Yeah, but couldn't they look to the future and see like, hey, we gave him these powers, and now as a result, he's never going to be able to integrate himself within humanity ever again?
Well, that's a human concern, not an alien.
They know that. That's like at the end they say, oh yeah, he can't go back because we changed him.
Well, that's my whole point.
Either he's going to kill you or you. I
don't think they ever thought he was going to get rescued. That's the idea. We have to presume, if we're presuming some level of beneficence on the part of these aliens.
Well, see, I know, and that's my whole point of like what you were just saying about at the end. They said like, you'll never be able to go back. Like, my whole point was like, they knew that from the start that he was never going to go back. Like, if they're going to assume he'll never be rescued, that's one thing. But I mean, it just seems like they could have like set him up with a whole line of supplies.
But like Jesse said, aliens, they have different philosophical concerns.
We're all humans here.
Yeah, it's just poor. I just think of like poor Charlie X, right? Why is it called Charlie X anyways?
Because he's got X powers. Maybe he's like
X powers, like the
X-Men. X-Men.
All right, that must be it.
Yeah. X-ray vision.
When was the X-Men created? Do we know?
I mean, we can find out.
September of 1963. This episode aired
in 66. September 15th, 1966.
So the X-Men were already out. Probably not quite as popular.
And not with the cool theme song from the 1990s. Keep it going. That's right.
Was that the animated show?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
It's coming back.
Is it for real though?
In POG form.
In POG form.
No, I think it's in Disney Plus form, actually.
Okay, so wait, are they gonna air reruns, or are they gonna make new episodes?
I think they're making new episodes.
Okay, so that's awesome. So poor Charlie, right? Because he's basically this child stuck in a older child's body, but like it's like he didn't deserve what he got. Like, it wasn't really his fault that he was such an asshole.
Absolutely. No,
and
no,
as a result, he has to like go and live like with them. He was like, they can't love. Like,
that's what Kirk is saying. How about this? Let's not get too far ahead of ourselves.
Right.
Let's take a break.
Oh.
We'll take a quick break, and when we get back, we will get into the first act of Charlie X as they ease us into. It's funny. He's a creepy dude. They've already determined he's creepy, but then they're like, you know what we need to do? We need to spend like 30 minutes slowly making him creepier and creepier.
I know.
Before like the action goes down. All right.
Yeah.
We'll be right back. Are we back, Jesse?
Yeah, let's be back.
All right. Jesse's declared that we are back. We are back.
We are back.
All right. So we start out in the first act here, whatever you want to call it, first break back from the intro scene where McCoy is all like 4-0.
4-0.
Yeah.
Sound of wind and limb.
Right, when he was they were on, and then they once again had the weird like medical Atari screen going like bloop, bloop,
And the
bloop.
they had the kicky things.
Yeah, the kicky things.
It's sort of awkward.
Yeah, it was. I'd never heard of 4.0 and Sound of Wind and Limb before. He did say 100%, which I've heard that one before.
And 4.0, I
it's
figured
like-
was like a GPA.
Yeah, it's like an
maybe,
A+.
Maybe that's what that means. Well, then Sound of Wind and Limb, like, I mean, I can guess what that
It
means.
sounds really nice.
But
Is
it's
that
like,
a naval term, perhaps?
yeah, I don't know.
Sound of wind and limb is very poetic.
Well, I guess we can find out, can't we? What is sound? We can find out. Sound of
Dan
wind
has
by
a computer.
doing
Googling with Dan.
Google. Sound is good with bunch. Sound.
Mumbling with Dan. While Dan looks that up, he moves along pretty quickly here. He gets his good, clean bill of health from McCoy. McCoy is briefly weirded out by him because Charlie's all like, "Do you like me?"
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
And I was joking about it before, but this is an incel fantasy episode. This episode is basically about this guy and understanding your earlier point, which we will elaborate on, Dan, in terms of the fault here. But just on the surface, this is a person, a young man who thinks that if he gets a present for somebody, in this case Rand, he creates out of thin air something that Rand likes.
Perfume.
He invades her mind to determine what she likes.
Right.
He then creates it and then tries to give it to her and then pressures her into trying to go on a date.
Yeah.
And then eventually just gets frustrated that she doesn't want to fuck him.
Yeah.
And the kind of, to me, looking at this from the modern lens is this is a guy who, even though he has superpowers, is still a fucking loser.
Yeah.
And now that's a separate discussion from the point that you made, Dan, about his upbringing and how there should be a certain amount of sympathy for him because he wasn't given the opportunity to be raised in a normal environment, and having these powers given to him, probably against his will, is another not great thing. It's could be interpreted as a form of abuse.
These aren't human powers.
So, but telling a woman you just met that she's not allowed to lock her door is pretty creepy.
Oh, yeah.
Also
smacking
saying,
her on the ass.
Yeah. So that was done by an example of the other Starfleet crew smacking the other dude's ass.
Yeah, I understand that's the setup.
Yeah. But that is very creepy. When you meet a woman and you say, when I see you, I feel like I'm hungry all over. That's kind of, GROSS, you know what I mean? When you tell them they smell like a girl, I mean, I guess that's mostly innocent, but along with everything else,
that
it's
was,
like,
to me, there was two creepy facts. Like the first creepy point was when he was like, "You smell like a girl."
Yeah, I know, it was
And I
creepy.
like, all right, that's weird and creepy, but okay. Then the second part was
you make
the other girls, they don't smell like girls.
Oh,
He didn't. I mean, he sort of trails off.
Yeah.
But it was making the distinction that he was smelling something on Rand in particular.
Yeah.
And Rand understands that he's got a crush on her, and that she's had to deal
Kirk
with that.
thought it was mostly cute at first. He thought it was like adorable at first.
Yeah, I mean, he probably identified with it to some degree.
Didn't realize to the extent.
They had a general sort of boys will be boys sort of approach to this whole situation until it was sort of too late.
Right. Yeah. So I guess the ass slapping scene, he slapped that other crew member. I couldn't tell what they were doing in that scene. Were they scrubbing some vents or something in that scene where like he
guy with that tube lowering it,
slowly
lowering
we
it.
work hard and we play hard too.
Right. Yeah, Charlie. That was another uncomfortable scene because Charlie got all close to him, was all smiling, right in his personal space.
The dudes in the Jeffries tubes.
Yeah, they were like.
That was a weird tube, but
the diagonal little Jeffrey tube.
I was confused about the continuity. There were some continuity issues going on in this episode, but so this one, they were scrubbing what looked like there was a vent, but then the next scene he comes out of this big tube.
Okay, the dude with the little skinny little pipe thing.
And
he was lowering it into the ground.
Yeah, I couldn't
a vent kind of thing.
Right. But then the next shot was of Charlie coming out of a diagonal big tube.
Yeah.
So how did he
just in front of those two other crewmen?
Yeah. So how did they get from that weird vent to him coming out of a big old tube? I don't know.
Charlie gets around.
He gets around. Yeah, I guess he does. But we don't know what either.
It might have been a little confusing in terms of the shot selection, but basically you've got two crewmen who were working.
Yeah.
They're palling around and they're doing a little ass grabbing, palling around style ass grabbing.
Yeah, I don't know. That was a little bit forced.
1960s. I mean, to each their own. I think.
I mean, you see that in baseball, you see that in sports, but that's about it. That was a forced ass grab. That was I want to pinch your ass grab. It wasn't like I'm gonna go get you, Tiger. He reached over, went out of his. When you slap a guy's ass in sports, you don't go out of your way to slap their ass. You're just walking by and you're like, hey, which is, also kind of that's strange. That's a strange tradition, but
it is strange.
But whatever, not I'm
to
bothered by it.
I mean, different eras.
It's just funny the rules.
This is the future.
It's just funny the rules with which we're supposed to like the rules we have about slapping men's asses. Sometimes it's totally manly and sometimes it's weird. I don't know. I don't get it. To me, it's always awesome to slap another dude's ass. Except if he doesn't want it. Except if he doesn't want it.
Dan is all about consent.
Yes,
he has that tattooed on a tramp stamp area.
Right. I'm all about consent.
I'm all about consent. Sorry, that imagery is just hilarious.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we have there's this running gag in this episode where Kirk wants McCoy to talk to this kid about getting boners and shit.
Yeah.
He's like, can you give him an orientation on the problems of adolescence or whatever?
You're the doctor. You should be talking.
And McCoy's trying to be why do I have to deal with this fucking kid? This fucking weirdo.
I know. I have actual sick people to help.
Yeah. Nobody wants to give this kid the talk, but I think Spock even looked a little weird and uncomfortable.
Yeah, Spock's not going to do that shit.
When Kirk left with Charlie with Spock when they were playing 3D chess.
And he was like, "Listen, I checkmated your ass, you bitch."
When Kirk was like, "Here's the chess master," and Kirk left the room. I mean,
it was like a man.
It's it's hard to say when Spock is making an expression, but it looked like he looks as annoyed as Spock could have looked about being left with this fucking weird kid.
Right, and so he gets up and leaves.
I mean, even before
Kirk left.
That's the logical.
Well, Kirk left, but Kirk was played chess with this kid.
Yeah,
and Spock,
but before all that, and
Spock looked like he wasn't really that into it.
To be fair, again on the other side, to be fair to Charlie a little bit, Charlie arrives on the ship. He's socially awkward. He's encountering women,
Charlie,
which he apparently has never encountered before. And then he goes into the rec room where Rand said he should come and hang out, and there's just fucking Spock is just rocking out on some lute. Uhura's singing some song about Spock having devil ears.
That was a weird scene. It was a really weird scene.
That's what I'm saying. Is
Satan in disguise.
Charlie Evans, he's weird, but he's on a ship full of
Charlie
fucking
Evans?
weirdos. That's his name. Is Charlie Evans.
Oh. He is on a ship.
Evans.
So, yeah.
I mean, it was just a weird scene.
That whole scene was weird.
I mean, I enjoyed it, but I enjoyed it because it was bizarre.
She doesn't sing that much in Star Trek.
So there was some kind of
Nichelle Nichols was a singer as well as an actor.
So there
she toured with Duke Ellington Band and Lionel Hampton Band.
Well, she seemed to have a good voice. I figured I didn't know that she.
I liked her song. It was weirdly similar to it was Green Sleeves by way of some sort of hippie business.
Yeah, it was 60s minor.
So there was some weird canned laughter coming from the crewmen. Which was weird. Why were they laughing like that? I don't know.
And they're all
goofing on Spock.
they're on some sort of space drug, snake leaf.
And so like when I was saying
They're on
Spock,
snake cocaine.
Spock looked annoyed about being left with Charlie during chess there, but here he looked weird. Something was weird. He kept making weird faces.
Because I think in there when you're
There were so many questions like, why was Uhura singing? What was Spock playing?
She was jazzing up his Vulcan contemplative music.
Is what he's playing, is his instrument amplified? Why was it making?
He's played that in other episodes.
Why was it making that
Vulcan
screeching noise at the beginning of the thing? It was making that screeching noise when Uhura was started humming to it, and he looked at her all like, and she's like, oh, and like
there is an answer, but it is not an on-screen answer.
But that was Nichelle Nichols singing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it clearly was her singing. But the headcanon answer, I don't think it's an on-screen. There's nothing that states this outright, but I think there's enough evidence in this episode with the scene in the rec room. Is that what they call it? The rec room?
Sure.
And then
Maybe they had entertainment tapes.
if
in
you
there.
combine that with the scene in the exercise place, then you can conclude that these are two places. These are like two of the zones on the Enterprise that you can just go and get high as balls.
Yeah,
You
really.
get high as balls and do a bunch of weird shit. Like there's if you want to do like
your shirt off.
exercise type high stuff, or if because like Kirk wrestling around, they got the people doing the gymnastics.
Yeah.
There's some like proto ambo jitsu people
those guys in
in
that
the
other
background.
room.
Yeah, those pugilists. Who pugilizes while they're standing still? You notice they were just standing still the whole time?
Because
No
they
one's
were
gonna
on
fight like
on
that.
drugs.
They were on drugs.
They're
oh,
on
yeah.
future space drugs. They're on like Harry Mudd style drugs.
Yeah, those women who are doing, what are those called? Their forward walkovers or
Yeah.
something?
It's not a cartwheel.
Klingon
It's not,
time
a,
crystals.
it's not a handspring or a
like a
cartwheel.
flippy dip.
But she was like the first. Why were they going through the doorway with it?
Yeah.
Because they were high?
Because they're on drugs.
And the first one who you saw go through it, she had this huge smile on her
Yes.
face. That was so fucking
And
weird.
do you know why she had that
Space
huge
weed.
smile on her face?
Because she was on drugs.
They were
Yes.
smoking space weed.
snake
Do you
snake
think
heroin.
Do you think Kirk was Shatner was up tucking? Was he up tucking on with those tights, those pants with his?
Are you referring to the positioning of his penis?
Yeah, was he up tucking?
As in like what ballet dancers and certain gymnasts do?
Sometimes swimmers do.
As in arranging their penis
I don't know if he could
vertically
do that.
as opposed to tucked down?
Right, you range it so it goes up instead of
Instead
down.
of being nestled with the testicles
right.
pointed
It
upwards.
looked like he was up.
Sounds miserable.
He looked
held,
like he was
held firm by the elastic waistband of the tights.
Ouch.
Of the red tights with the high boots.
I
So
think
they
it
look
was-
like some sort of Christmas elf business.
Yeah, I think and Shatner once again showed off his stage combat skills.
Oh, this is
Yeah,
great. Shatner's
yeah.
looking great in this game.
Like there was that other episode. I think it was the one where they, which is the one with I'm not joking, Lee.
Where no man has gone.
That's where
before.
no man has
Yeah,
gone before.
I think
yeah.
there was stage combat in that. So Shatner knows his shit. When
Oh
it
yeah.
happened.
Totally
yeah.
did.
He was doing some kind of judo throw and like some
Yeah,
kind of flippy flop and that was pretty tight, you know.
Well-
and Charlie was being all whiny about it. He's like, I don't want to do it. I want to fight. He's like, well, Charlie, it's Charlie.
Charlie. Hey, Charlie.
And Kirk Shatner Shatner was
Hey,
looking.
you know what
hard.
you're doing, Dan? You're kirking out.
Yeah,
You're kirking out.
You motherfucker.
That's a colloquialism. I don't know what region that's specific to kirking out, but that's what you're doing, Dan.
Oh, I was talking about there was in the rec room when they were okay. So Jesse, you said you've seen Spock play that instrument before. I feel like I've seen him play that before, but
the one with the space hippies, he was playing
Yeah,
that.
that's season 3.
But was it the same thing where it had like a knob and it was amplified?
Yeah, it was the same
I
construction.
wonder if it's called like a Vulcan.
It's a
loop
Vulcan
or-
lyre.
Lyre, but like it's amplified. It has you can play
Yeah,
some
man.
weird shit. You can like make it
It's
go
electric, man.
Woogie, woogie, woogie.
Vulcan liar.
But like so Spock. So,
I prefer playing the Vulcan fibber.
So watch. Stupid. Watch Spock in that scene playing that lyre. And you can see there's continuity issues because he would put down the Vulcan lyre. He would
Continuity issues?
no. He would put down the Vulcan lyre, and then the next shot he was holding it again. Like there was no in between. There would be one shot where his head would be down 1 minute, and then the next second it'd be like up to pointing to the right. You know, it's like the shots
the
didn't line up.
1960s.
They didn't line up.
Hey,
It was
they
one of
couldn't pay
the
attention to
first
this
shows
shit.
they did.
And there was a couple times in this episode where their dialogue
It was one of the first shows they did.
where there was
They didn't know what they were
where
doing.
there was dialogue that was cut off where somebody like got halfway through the last word and it cut off and went changed shots. That happened twice.
Now, Yeah.
And Uhura, did you notice Uhura was in the background? Uhura was doing that thing where she helps. Was it Yeoman Rand playing solitaire, and Uhura was standing there and like pointing the moves out. Like Rand was playing solitaire.
Like the thing you just don't need. You don't need help with solitaire.
Yeah, exactly. I knew someone.
I thought they were playing a game together.
The game is called solitaire.
Yeah, so my mom had a friend who, when I would sit and play solitaire, the friend would like start pointing at me like, put that there, put that there, put that there. It was the most annoying fucking thing because I was like, why don't you play your own goddamn game of solitaire?
That's not a friend.
No, it's not a friend. You're right. Ain't no friend of mine.
Not a friend.
Look, if you do this, you have time to change, all right? It's never too late to change. But I'm telling you,
Dan's talking to you out there in the audience.
if I'm playing, I was about to say, if you're playing solitaire with me, if I'm playing solitaire, please don't stand there and point out the moves. Otherwise, like,
If I'm playing solitaire.
Please
don't stand there.
So, well,
Go ahead, Dan. It's all you. It's all you. The whole you're standing alone on the stage.
Is yours.
The spotlight is shining right in your eyes.
So
the audience is waiting with bated breath.
So when Charlie in that scene, he said he learned card tricks from the Antares. He didn't learn card tricks from the Antares because he was using his brain magic. That was no card trick.
Yeah, but he probably didn't have cards with him on the planet, so he probably literally did learn the concept of
fools.
You can do card tricks. He probably did learn that on the Antares.
But he's just
then he can do it with magic.
It was 20 schlubs in space. They were sitting around playing cards.
Yeah.
They were playing.
He was on a ship full of dudes.
Chess.
So she
entertainment tapes.
She wasn't at all skeeved out by the fact that like he got a card down the front of her shirt, because there's only two ways that could have happened. Either one, like there's some real fucking magic at work in which
you could have beamed it in.
Like
I would be skeeved out by
like
that.
if there's only a couple reasons why she would have cards in the front of her shirt. Is either one, like magic, or two, he beamed it in. If it was magic, you should be freaked out. If he beamed it in, that's skeevy. Or he put his hand down his shirt when she wasn't looking. Her shirt when she wasn't listening.
Just real sleight of hand.
And which would be extra skeevy. But she thought that was adorable that suddenly in the front of her shirt she had a fucking card sitting there.
Yeah, we will have to discuss the sort of Rand's whole reaction to all this.
But you bring up entertainment tapes. I was wondering myself, what do you think the entertainment tapes are? Were those things that Spock was holding later? Like they look like, remember those?
Those were
those wooden blocks. Those wooden blocks. They put
it
the
looked
discs.
like he was speaking into them.
Those were
he was just holding. Them.
Exactly. Were those entertainment tapes?
Those were like his health records and stuff.
Those could have been any sort of tape.
Do entertainment tapes look like those?
Yes,
I don't think Vulcans seek entertainment.
What's on an entertainment tape? What do you do with them?
What's on a Vulcan entertainment tape?
It's pornos.
So they do have TV back then.
It's not TV. It's just porno. You know, like how
I think
HBO.
It's
like HBO, not TV.
Maybe there's some books on tape.
But they have like you can watch movies back in TOS.
So first of all,
if you wanted to, but I think it was just
you keep talking about Spock's tapes.
Porno.
Spock. All I know is Spock had the tapes that were the health records or whatever.
But I'm going back to the entertainment tape,
records,
whatever entertainment tapes.
Yes,
Kirk
for Charlie Evans, they probably had some selection. It was a ship full of dudes. I'm sure they had a bunch of pornos on there.
So they do watch movies in TOS because they stopped watching movies in TNG.
I don't know what form it takes. Maybe they're erotic tales. Maybe it's long form erotic fiction.
Maybe there's an alien just reading from a book.
How long after does TOS does TNG take place?
100 years.
Like 80.
So
80.
By the time that holodecks came around in the TNG era, they stopped watching movies until unless it became a novelty to watch a movie. It wasn't like a thing you do because they all had holodecks.
Enterprise liked movies.
But TOS
they didn't really have movies.
Well, Enterprise liked movies because that was before TOS.
TOS liked watching itself. Like in the menagerie or some other things,
Right.
TNG like doing that too.
I'm just saying, I'm wondering, I guess entertainment tapes, it just implies that there's more to, there's no holodecks back then, but they still watch movies. But what kind of entertainment could they have between the era of movies and holodecks?
I think you're taking this a little seriously, man. This is a television program.
I'm just wondering. I'm wondering.
It's inconsistent.
It's an important question.
It is inconsistent because here they're clearly implying they're like, okay, we want them to have some sort of future entertainment, but they don't want to specify it, right? They want to imply that there's entertainment, but they don't want to be beholden to saying.
Why are they still using tapes?
They're reading comic books. And anyway, I think there was some. I think they mean porn. Honestly, I think they mean porn. They mean stag films.
Stag films.
They
That's
don't-
what it was.
They don't mean like modern internet porn. They mean like a 16
60s
millimeter,
porn, yeah.
16 millimeter silent stag film with some lady prancing about in some sort of horrific circumstance. Because that sounds just sad, it's just a sad world we live in.
You know, it's a funny coincidence is that by the time this airs, the next holiday coming up will have been Thanksgiving, and it still currently will be Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving?
And they just so happen to be talking
What
about...
are you talking about? No, this comes out on Monday.
This
Thanksgiving is like on Thursday.
I know, it's before Thanksgiving. It's the last episode we do.
This is the
before-
last episode before Thanksgiving.
Yes,
you're
that's what that would have been a better way of me.
And they do
less more
coincidentally
clear.
because
Happy
that's
Thanksgiving.
They talk
and
about-
that's got to be your algorithm has some secret AI shit in there
Secret
that is
AI,
like
right.
Is it like getting information about the holidays and the time of year?
Because
and the
did
weather.
they mention Thanksgiving in this episode?
Yeah, they talk about
Yeah.
synthetic meatloaf that looks like turkey. That also brings me to the question of they don't have replicators, so what is the synthetic
exactly,
meatloaf? What is
yeah.
the synthetic meatloaf?
They
taste like?
they retconned later to say they do have replicators. Maybe they're just shitty replicators.
Because then that dude's like, I put the meatloaf in the ovens and now it's turkeys. It's real turkeys.
Yeah, so that kid fucking like decided to turn that meatloaf into like
And he wants people to like it.
he turned these meatloaf in, as a joke that he thought was funny. He turned this meatloaf into turkeys that were live being burned alive.
I am not a big turkey guy, but I'd rather have turkey than meatloaf.
Yeah. I mean,
I love
he did
meatloaf.
them a solid, but
I love
I'm not
meatloaf.
a meatloaf
I think
guy
meatloaf
whatsoever.
it's just a fucking hamburger without the hamburger.
No.
okay.
Yes, same fucking thing. So delicious.
I'm in between y'all.
Yeah.
Right. So Jesse is taking the anti-meatloaf position. Dan is taking the heavily pro-meatloaf position.
I mean, I like turkey, but turkey's easily ruined.
I am a big fan.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm a big fan of meatloaf done properly.
Well,
But there's
I like
but-
meatloaf that tastes like
No, no,
shit.
no, no.
I like meatloaf that tastes like shit. Hey guys, I want to eat some shit today.
Dan,
Let's eat some shitty meatloaf.
does is eat shit all day long.
I was like, no, it's not just. I make my special shitty meatloaf. Let's eat it. Yummy. I make it a special way to make it extra
So,
shitty.
on the one hand,
got shit gravy.
Shit gravy.
I do apologize for the implicit suggestion that Dan is unsophisticated and gross, because that was not my intention.
That's not what I said.
My intention,
by the way.
my intention was, in fact,
I like shitty meatloaf.
to agree with Dan that meatloaf can be quite good, but it does have to be done properly. But
Yes.
the same thing is true of turkey.
Yes.
So I also like turkey, but it it needs to be done properly or
There's a
be
fine
slathered
line,
in something
Slathered.
sufficiently good.
But just to reiterate
Slathered
what
in
I said
bacon.
before, this synthetic meatloaf was being cooked by the time he turned it into live turkeys. So there were live turkeys being cooked alive because they were live turkeys.
Wait.
Let me reword that. There were
Did
turkeys.
you think they were live turkeys? Because I didn't get that they were live turkeys. I just got that he just converted
They
them
were
into
just real turkey.
like Thanksgiving
Not
style
synthetic.
turkey.
He said there's
Poop turkeys.
okay. So he said there's turkeys in there now, real turkeys. He didn't say they were live.
They're not
turkeys.
live. I think
No,
they're just.
My implication was is
I
that
like your idea better
that
because
they
it's
were
funnier.
getting turkeys.
Turkey turkeys.
Hey, we got a case of
Yeah,
turkey.
He got turkeys. He turned synthetic meatloaf into turkeys being cooked alive. Turkeys being cooked alive.
All right.
Alive.
All right, Dan's losing it.
No, you're probably right. They probably weren't live. I just sort of wanted that to be true.
This segment did
You
have
gotta take the feathers off.
this. You know that
Nah.
the whole.
Well, he wasn't worried about that. He was just playing jokes.
You know the whole Star Trek. There's like the Twitter business where it's like.
Twitter, I never heard of it.
Well, yeah, no,
Hardly knew her.
appears to be going away. But there's like it's like Star Trek minus context Twitter, where it'll just have like a screenshot from a Star Trek episode and like one line at the bottom, and the humor is derived from the fact that it's out of context. Like you don't have the other stuff around, and so the line is funny. I haven't seen this one, but this one probably to me could be one of the best ones ever. Is when Kirk is talking to Charlie Evans, and Charlie's all like, I did this. He smacks Kirk on the butt.
Yeah, that was my favorite.
He doesn't describe himself smacking Rand on the butt. He
demonstrates.
He's incapable of describing it, so he slaps Kirk on the butt.
So not only does he slap a captain of a starship on the butt, it's none other than Captain Kirk.
Yeah. And then Captain Kirk has like a reaction like,
he's like,
wait a minute, I'm Captain Kirk, baby.
I'm Captain Kirk, baby. Yes, so Kirk is like, no, you can't do that. Now, the first thing that's funny, of course, is that Kirk is weirdly befuddled. He can't seem to figure out how to explain to Charlie X that you don't slap a woman in the ass because it's a violation of her bodily autonomy.
Because that's what he really wants to do, is go around smacking all those girls.
I think it's because they did not have that vocabulary in the 1960s.
Right, yeah.
They had this sort of subliminal like idea in their mind. They're like, you probably shouldn't like go around slapping gals in the ass. Except I think it was most likely from the frame. The framing in their mind was, I like to fuck ladies, and how am I gonna fuck ladies? You got to be real nice to the ladies. You treat them real good.
You can't just go up and smack them on the ass.
Yeah, you treat a lady good, and then you're gonna fuck the lady.
They don't like it that way.
I think that's the framework we're seeing here, because that's like the lens that I can understand not understand. I'm saying like comprehend what Kirk's reaction, which is like he literally does not know how to explain why is it because the real explanation is like, hey buddy, hey, you want to get laid, you can't be doing that type of shit. You got to buy them flowers and shit. But that's not the thing that's great. The reason why I brought up the no context Star Trek business is because then Kirk has this I don't remember this line. Like I said, it's been a long time since I saw this episode, but when Kirk says, there's no right way to hit a woman.
That's right. Yeah.
Whoa.
I had to rewind it like 10 times. The first 2 times I rewound it was because I wanted to make sure I heard it properly. The remaining times was because it's fucking hilarious, because Kirk is trying to have this heart-to-heart with this adolescent guy. Right. And he's like, there's no right way to hit a woman. He means to say what Kirk is trying to convey is you should never hit a woman.
That's what he means.
But he says it's hilarious.
It's a very silly way to say it.
This is a very comedic, it's a funny line.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now, right?
Shatner delivers it in quite a funny way. It's just that it's sort of ensconced in this overall thing, which is like, don't hit the ladies. You can play grab ass with your guy friends,
right?
But you got to be nice to the ladies.
There's no right way to hit a woman. Yeah, that's
there's no right way.
I didn't even realize. I think there was so much going on in that episode that was fucking weird that like. That one didn't jump out to me.
There is a lot going on in this episode. But then again, it goes to that sort of incel-y type thing where as I think
absolutely.
I think I completed I can't remember if I completed my point earlier or not, but the idea being that this guy is an incel with superpowers and yet is still pathetic. Yeah. And in fact, the superpowers make him more pathetic. They call attention to his patheticness.
It's just some kind of mind bolt he has.
Well, it's the thing is because again, I agree with you, Dan, that he was raised in an unusual circumstance, and that we can't put all the blame on him entirely. But the fact is that the way he's acting is, I should be able to buy people's love. Not just Rand. Rand is sort of the most egregious and gross version of it. You know, the talks of the locking her doors.
No, I mean, I guess you could say he does. There is some agency. Now that I think about it, even though he is like the mind of a really young child in a 17-year-old's body, you'd think that at some point he'd figure out like that
Kirk is telling him no. Kirk is saying, "Don't interrupt." Kirk is saying, "Don't do this."
Okay, so I could see the don't interrupt.
I'm saying he's not. He's having this opportunity to learn, and he's not under any obligation to do what these people tell him to do. But the idea being is he's still choosing to be like, "No, I'm going to do the thing that's more fun for me."
Yeah, right, exactly. So that's why. Him not knowing at first not to interrupt, you can write that off and say like, oh, well, that makes sense. But like you said, like the fact that he keeps trying to molest people and he keeps trying to erase people with no remorse whatsoever. By the way, when Sam got disappeared, Judo Sam,
who's all cackling, laughing.
Yeah,
because he's like, this kid's an incel.
Yeah, Kirk. I mean, I know that Kirk was all weirded out, but you'd think he would be a little bit more terrified by what was going on. You could tell he was like not cool with it, but at the same time, time, he was just kind of like, this is strange, you know, like he gave more of the air like he was trying to tiptoe around the scenario because he saw that something fucked up was going on, but at the same time, it's like
he's in Starfleet, man. This is the kind of shit you run into when you're out in space. You run into some.
It's a Starfleet thing. It's
wild stuff.
This is the second episode that aired. Early on they built in this idea that
where no man has gone before.
I feel
if you're in Starfleet, you're going to see some bizarre ass business.
I feel like in later episodes of Star Trek, there was a little bit more. The drama was conveyed. People's death conveyed drama a little bit more than
sometimes. But I think the main point here is
it was the 60s.
It's less about people's death and more about the strange phenomenon.
Yeah, right. And of course.
And in this case, the phenomenon is like you said, the people disappearing and superpowers, and it's just like, oh, well, I guess we got to figure out a way to deal with this.
Right.
Which is the right response.
Well, that makes it more cerebral as opposed to
the natural response would be like, oh my god,
right.
oh my fucking god, like just people paralyzed in the fetal position in the hallways.
So this way makes it more cerebral and less like gives it less emotional weight or whatever. But I don't know.
Yeah. How about this? Let's take a break and then we can finish up this discussion.
We can finish up this episode
of Charlie X. All right, we will be right back. Okay, we're back.
So for the second episode of Star Trek,
that aired,
the
seventh produced of TOS, the eighth produced of Star Trek.
So this is kind of like a pretty heavy episode, right? For like there was no clever quipping at the end because there was really no room for it at the end.
There was no Scotty.
There was like usually Star Trek is a little more lighthearted, and they really jumped headfirst into this whole seriousness right off the bat. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like The Naked Now, wasn't that the second episode? Mm-hmm. And so that one was also one reason why that episode was criticized, just not only because it was just fucking weird.
Are you talking about like on TNG?
TNG.
Yeah, because it's The Naked Now and The Naked Time.
Oh wait, which is the Naked?
I always forget which is
Naked Time is TOS.
And then Naked Now is like the remake. Yeah. And it was the second TNG.
Right.
It was later.
That's when Wesley saves the day.
And so I remember one review that made sense to me. I was like, yeah, you're right. The review was like basically saying like, this is not the place you put this kind of episode. You don't put it as the second episode of a new series. Like the episode was already batshit, but they should have probably like waited and like introduced you to Star Trek TNG a little bit more before that.
That's science fiction, man.
But now Charlie X is a better episode. It's just, and I'm not criticizing where they placed it, but it is just interesting that they really jumped head first into the fucking, because if you'd only seen a couple episodes of TOS, you would think that this is a fucking disturbing ass show. Basically.
Well, and I think the important context here is this is an era in which people are already familiar with the Twilight Zone, the Outer Limits, and some of these other things where
the Twilight Zone was like a late 50s.
Having a moral at the end and having a dark ending, or at least dark-ish, was not unusual, maybe even expected. And sci-fi always has been, but particularly I think strongly during this period, did serve that role of having these moralistic tales, except you use aliens and ray guns and gooblas and bleeblahs in order to make some point about the Holocaust.
It was a dark time, it was like it was post
social upheaval,
post World War stuff. There was this Cold War like thing all looming, and like there was
assassination of Kennedy
getting killed in Vietnam.
So it was kind of a bummer time.
Yeah, it was a wild stuff was happening.
A lot of terrifying stuff. This was a terrifying episode.
This was an episode saying like, don't become an incel.
Yeah,
just remember,
it was
don't smack a girl on the ass. Be nice to the ladies, and they'll fuck you.
This was ahead of its. This was a prophetic episode. Right? That's the right word, right?
Prophetic?
Yeah.
As prophetic about what?
Incels.
Well, you could argue that, or you could say that it's just not a new concept.
Yeah, I guess you could say that.
And it takes different forms.
It's the chicken or the egg, Will.
Yes.
Chicken or the egg. Okay, another noteworthy thing, I believe, to be noteworthy, something noteworthy that's noteworthy as opposed to something that's noteworthy yet not noteworthy, is that...
Are you talking about the mega psychic scrunch face?
That was awesome.
Well, I mean, he redid it repeatedly. It
Yes.
was like Charlie's standard thing. He's like, woo!
Yeah, he made a good scrunch face. No, I was saying that we find out the origins of 3D chess date all the way back to the second aired episode of TOS because they were playing 3D chess.
Yeah.
Like that's not a newer thing. That's from way back from the start.
Yeah.
Way back.
Way back. Did you? And there was and then in that scene there was another continuity error where Spock mentions how to play. He's like white here, black on the secondary level. But when you watch, he's moving them in reverse order. As he says white here, he's moving the black piece. And he says black on secondary level, he's moving the white piece down. So it's totally not matching. So they really fucked that one up.
The board is also all wobbly.
Yeah, probably a lot of wobbliness going on. Speaking of wobbly, when Charlie froze them, I love it when they do the pretending to be still thing. Leonard Nimoy was much better at it than Shatner was.
In fact, it took me a second to figure out. I was like, are they both frozen?
Right.
Or is it just Leonard Nimoy's Spock is frozen and Shatner's like not frozen?
Yeah. Oh, did you hear that Leonard Nimoy? He said deflectors.
Oh.
Instead of sensors or deflectors. So he said it with everything.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, but I wasn't sure what was going on either.
That's continuity.
But on the continuity.
Careful. We're not in Australia, buddy.
Oh shit.
We might have fans in Australia, but we ourselves are not Australian.
So it doesn't pass.
It just means that there are certain constraints on the vocabulary that we are able to use without causing too much offense.
So they had this 3D chess that lived on all throughout Star Trek, but what didn't live on was the weird 3D checker that they had going in the foreground. If you look in that scene, there's this 3D checkerboard, and what it was a different setup. It was 2 checkers on each 2x2 square.
Like king to checkers? Like
No. So there was
when you king at checkers.
So no, it's not. No king checkers.
Okay,
so you
right.
had all these platforms with a 2x2 square, so 4 total squares.
Okay.
And you had all these platforms with 2x2 squares. On each 2x2 square were 2 checkers on 2 of the separate chairs.
Were they different colors?
They were diagonal. Some of them were different colors. Some of them were the same colors. I want to play that game. Although they probably both of those were probably just a result of them. Like you said, they were wobbly. It was probably just a result of like the prop crew just like gluing stuff together at the last second.
We need more games. They said the producers, they ordered more games. The writers said put a bunch of alien games.
And
4-dimensional Chinese checkers.
They probably didn't even like predict that the 3D chess would live on. They probably just like I bet it was like a last minute thing that they did.
Yeah, that's why there's like 3D chess, 3D checkers, and then solitaire.
Yeah,
solitaire is timeless. Ain't nobody gonna stop playing solitaire.
Yeah, never.
Yes. Okay.
I didn't see no Chinese checkers there.
No, they didn't have Chinese.
I was just talking shit.
So yeah, Charlie, we see him we start seeing more and more freakouts. The freak out where he gets mad at the chess pieces is kind of funny.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
They're also somewhat more threatening in that, like, there's that whole scene with Rand where he's like cornering her, and and that's the whole thing.
He dissed on Yeoman Tina Lawton. Rand
and that was another thing where like Rand is all like, "Oh, this guy's creeping me out. I know, I'll toss him a young girl." A young girl.
It's just another example of like someone trying to pawn Charlie. Everyone was trying to pawn Charlie off into someone else. It started with the Antares. It happened when like everyone was trying to get the other like males on the ship to like teach Charlie about the birds and the bees. Like cock.
McCoy tried to pawn him off onto Kirk.
I combined Kirk with Spock, and they got cock.
That's what you get. That's what you get, man.
Oh boy.
Pawn off the cock.
Kirk was doing to Bones and cock to Bones. Kirk to
You
Spock.
said cock bones.
Cock Bones. Kirk to Spock and Kirk to Leonard Nimoy. Spock. Nimoy. Spock. And then now it's Yeoman Rand trying to pawn Charlie off to Tina Lawton. So nobody gives a fuck about anyone else. They just don't want to deal with Charlie themselves.
Well, it's because he's also doing that creepy thing where there's a threatening nature to him, right?
Yeah.
He is this. I think the the writers and the producers were clever in not just in how they've set up the lines that Charlie says and the way he's acting, but the actor I thought did a good job. The selection of the actor, because he's slight, he's a skinny looking guy. They picked a guy who's meant to be
wiry.
He's non-threatening, except there's that threat underneath from his creepiness and from his inability to sort of navigate his hormonal desires. And the god powers, of course, are what kind of get at that. But this would have been different if he was a big, stocky, beefy guy or like a high school football player looking fella, right? He looks like a guy you could just like, kick in the shins and you wouldn't have to worry about him anymore.
You would think that Spock would be... He would have some pointers in, like, being able to moderate your libido or whatever.
Yeah, you'd think he'd be able to give some kind of.
Yeah,
but they didn't really talk about that till much.
This is very early.
Too early. It's a weird episode. The moral, I guess, is pretty clear. Well, let's decide if it's clear. Maybe it was only clear to me. For my money, the moral was: don't act like a creepy motherfucker.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
That's not appropriate.
That's not.
It was less about like
you're not going to get people to like you by being.
Well, they've done other versions of this God baby thing where like where No Man Has Gone Before is the classic example.
I'm not jokingly.
Where ultimate power leads to ultimate madness or greed or whatever, like there's this idea that they've played around with Q and other things where it's like there's an inherent problem with power, right? There's the whole Spider-Man responsibility
Strange
thing,
energies.
But in Star Trek and a lot of other mythology, it's about like, what do you do with that power? And there's this tendency for people, even good people, like in Lord of the Rings, like Gandalf doesn't want the ring because he's like, hey,
Gandalf,
that he's going to fuck everything up at some point because that certain power is just shady.
Or Galadriel.
They don't really do that in this episode. In this episode, he's got these powers, but the people he got them from, they're not portrayed as assholes. In fact, they're trying to help out.
Well, I still think they were a little bit like they were thoughtless. They weren't assholes, but they were thoughtless.
They're aliens.
I'm with Jesse here, and like I don't want to like ascribe something to an alien culture.
They're gonna have a different mindset,
especially when their ideas
they're disembodied alien heads.
It's like a 3-year-old boy that's like starving, and they're like, okay, well, this is the way we understand how to help him. Yes, we can quibble on what the actual impact was in the end, but they didn't know. I mean, it's sort of like the Telosians in the cage and in the menagerie, where the Telosians they put what's her name back together, but they didn't know what a human looked like, so they put her back together all goofy.
So she had like an arm coming out the top of her head,
so that there's an illusion that's placed on top to make her feel better. But yeah, I just found it interesting that the moral of this episode did not seem to center on this idea of like power is inherently bad. It was more on the idea of like an adolescent, an unmoored adolescent, and the problems that can cause, specifically a male adolescent.
And he was acting like a young child, really. He wasn't acting like an adolescent.
Well, that's what they were saying.
It was adolescent.
Well, I mean, that's
fury.
No, but that's what they were. That's what they were saying from the start. Is that like has the mind of like a young child, and he's in a 17-year-old body. Yeah. So, the resolution to this episode, I guess, is one of those things where it doesn't really matter.
It was a Deus Ex Machina.
It didn't matter. It didn't really make sense because we don't have to linger on it. But it wasn't clear why. So the way they won is by like turning all the ship's shit on, so it overloads the senses.
But that's not technically how they won. That's the problem I do have with the conclusion.
Okay, but this is where we're starting. But first of all, it's not clear why Charlie couldn't just let go of the ship's controls momentarily, kill Kirk, and then retake control of the ship, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, he was like, well, if we just turn all the ship's stuff on, Charlie won't be able to control
He wasn't going to kill Kirk.
Well, that's not the point, though. The point is that like, he could have stopped Kirk, and he could have killed Kirk, and Kirk was pushing him to the point where he was going to kill him. The point being that, like, Charlie, like, the way they were going to beat Charlie is they were going to say, Charlie needs control of the ship. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn on all the switches, overload his sensors, so it takes too much of his power to take control of this ship. And while he's trying to take control of this ship, I will come and fuck his shit up. But like he won't be able to keep me away because he's already controlling this one ship.
Right.
So why couldn't Charlie just say, okay, I'm gonna stop controlling this ship, and then I'm gonna like I won't kill Kirk, but I'll lock him in a cage. Then I'll go back to controlling the ship again. Does that make sense what I'm saying here?
Yeah, all of that is plausible. It becomes irrelevant in this case because any agency by Kirk and crew, at best you could say it was a minor delaying tactic, which wouldn't have made any difference anyway, because it's not like they were like right on top of Earth Colony 5 or Alpha 5 or whatever. They were on the way, and Kirk and crew were trying to get them to not go there anymore. So
I say
Charlie
it's
couldn't
Earth
go
Colony
there. What actually happens is, I think arguably is the classic Deus Ex Machina, which is the Thasians show up.
Yeah, right. Well, that's what actually happened.
And they solve the problem. So Kirk and company delay Charlie's plan slightly, a little bit.
Right.
So any agency they had was moot.
Yeah, it was, right.
It's not like they contacted these people and said, hey, can you pick this motherfucker up?
They just showed up in their weird blurry ass ship.
Yeah.
I was also not very, and so this is another part that's not too important to linger on, but I still didn't make sense. They were saying, the first thing he goes is, I have taken my form centuries ago so that I may communicate with you. Now, there were two ways I interpreted it. Wait, was he saying, so centuries ago, Thasians look like normal humanoids, and he's just now taking that form, as in like, I'm taking my form from centuries ago? Or was it, he took this form centuries ago, and he still has it? You see what I'm saying? Like, is he retaking his original form, or did he just take a new form centuries ago? I didn't understand what that line meant.
I had a similar question, and my conclusion, it's a temporary conclusion. Let's just sort of like put it there just as a placeholder. It's a placeholder conclusion. But my placeholder conclusion was that you picture yourself
in a boat,
not on a river. Picture yourself in a recording studio on the Paramount lot, or on the Desilu lot, NBC,
Desilu
in Burbank, California, and you have an
Beautiful
actor coming in,
Burbank.
and you have an audio engineer, and the audio engineer is like, all right, go read the line. And the line is all like, I have taken this form centuries ago. And then the voice actor is like, did I read that right? And the audio engineer guy is like, sure.
Yeah, right. Whatever.
And then, whatever, it's fine. Let's go.
And then
let's go smoke some cigarettes.
Yeah.
And hassle some dames. let's slurp down some cigarettes while hassling some dames.
Whistle at some dames.
I think that's what happened, because otherwise I don't know how to interpret this line.
Yeah, it didn't make any sense.
It does not make any sense.
I don't know how you're like, I don't know how to interpret this line. So he's super bummed out about going back. Are they like mega boring or something? It makes me think like back to Strange New Worlds, Dr. Mbenga's daughter. She didn't seem to mind staying with those hollow aliens. Remember those hollow aliens?
Yeah, granted, the other option was death.
Yeah, that's true.
Even though I was aggravated by this, not aggravated, but a little bit like thought, okay, this ending is sort of like pointless, and there's no agency on part of the crew, and there's a little Deus Ex Machina and all that stuff. What I did like is that Kirk's response, and I think in the 60s, this would have been viewed as like a surprising response. Kirk is like, no, we can totally keep him. We'll figure this out. He's done all this fucked up shit already. Right. And at that stage, they're not 100% sure they're getting everybody back yet. But Kirk is all like, and they know the Antares guys are all dead. So that's 20 people dead because of this kid. And Kirk's response is empathy. Mm-hmm. And I think that's awesome.
That was a real like letdown for the kid though, because Kirk's like, we'll let you stay with us, and then the guy's like, you really don't want to do that. He's like, no, you're probably right.
He has too much power.
And he's like, you know what, you're right. So this kid just went on an emotional roller coaster over the course of 10 seconds.
Yeah, and they again. All credit due to DC Fontana, by the way, who is the person who wrote the episode. Very hugely important to TOS and Star Trek, even beyond TOS. So lonely. That they went through the options. They were like, okay, we can train him. We'll figure out a way. And the aliens are like, no, that won't work. And they're all like, well, can you like take the powers away or something? And they were like, basically like the aliens were like, here's the deal. The kid's stuck with these powers, and he's going to fuck shit up if he doesn't come back with us.
Yeah. Poor kid.
It is, and the kid that you referenced the line
He's gotta
earlier
eat, though.
when he's all like,
Gotta
"Hey,
eat.
you can't touch them. They don't know how to.
They don't know how to love. Yeah.
And that's upsetting. Because that's the problem.
And then
That's
when he
pretty
does,
upsetting.
and then he does that upsetting '60s disappear at the end, where he's like, "No," and he
Stay.
disappears.
Stay.
It kind of reminded me a little bit in a weird way. Did you ever see the original Little Shop of Horrors?
Yeah. Well, yeah, the black and white one.
Yeah, there was a really there was no one disappearing, but there was something similar where
It was good.
where you saw a guy's frozen face. He's like, but that whole like,
Or like the end of Chevy commercial. Was it Chevy commercials or Ford commercials in the 1980s?
or when they'd zap away.
when they jump up in the air, you know.
That's Transformers.
Oh yeah.
What are you talking about? Transformers.
They jump up.
I
Talking
think
about cars
I think
jumping.
that was a Chevy commercial.
I think it's Chevy, right?
Yeah.
Where they jump up in the air and they're all happy.
Did they wave
But
their?
free-
did
they
they
freeze frame it up in the air?
You always got your way at Oarsman Chevrolet.
Did they wave their tires like they just don't care?
Their tires.
They don't have arms
You
or
mean,
hands.
like wiggle their.
Did they wave? They can't put their hands in the air. They put their tires in the air and wave them like they just don't care.
So you're still stuck on this Transformers idea that the cars are people?
No, you said they wave. You were saying they wave them in the air, and
Yeah,
I was.
But you're applying.
But no,
sort
but
of
I was just doing that rhyme, like you.
human-centric idea.
Remember
human
that
qualities.
rhyme? Remember that rhyme that goes, "Wave your hands in the air like you just don't care," or whatever.
Oh, that old yarn.
Yeah, right.
That old hymn.
Right, you remember that
Yes,
one?
that
So
old
I
hymn
was
from back in
saying
the day.
instead of waving your hands in the air, they're cars. So you wave their tires in the air, and you were talking about them waving or something.
Okay.
You were saying something about them waving. I don't know. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't have most.
Doesn't fucking matter.
Yeah, guess what? Nothing does.
Guess what?
So
Nothing matters, Dan.
there was a couple creepy like. There's a lot of creepiness in this episode, but there was a few shots that were like, or few moments. Okay. First of all, can we guess the creepiest moment, the most upsetting? What was your most? I know exactly what my most upsetting moment is.
No
in this
face
episode.
girl.
No face girl.
Yeah,
yes.
no face girl.
Oh yeah.
'Cause it went lizard girl, and then it went old lady girl, and then it went no face girl.
Well,
right.
well, you think that girl got disappeared, but she just turned into an iguana. So you're like, okay, whatever.
Well, the Thasian.
And the iguana was making some sort of weird noises.
The Thasian did say at the end that everything as it was, so we're led to believe that everything's fine now. But like, you'd think No Face Girl would suffocate or something. But
Yeah, that was. I don't like that no face stuff.
yeah,
no face
no.
stuff is not-
Always.
That was
disturbing.
really upsetting, and the way the scene played out, because it she just comes around the corner, and right as you realize what you're looking at, it cuts away, and you're just like,
right.
"What the fuck was
Because
that?"
you thought that just those dudes that were laughing got just silent.
Well, and
Right.
that was
And
what
that-
was
that was-
peculiar about
yes.
the scene is because it's like, I don't know if it was an artistic choice. My guess is it was a money choice where they're like, we don't have enough money to have a group of people standing in the hallway. So here's what we're going to do. We can have their shadows. We can pay them less if it's just their shadows. We pay them $10 a piece for the shadow, and then we pay the gal with the no face. She comes around the corner. She gets $30.
Yeah, why did? Yeah,
She's
why?
got no face.
Right. So why didn't they make them all no faced? Right. Is that what you're kind of saying?
Because the implication is that they are all made no faced.
Okay.
Because we see a bunch of people in the shadows and they get silent.
I thought they froze.
Well, then she comes around the corner. She's no faced, but they did get silent.
It's horrible, man.
Okay, so the way I interpreted it, and I could very well be wrong, and I don't care one way or the other, but when I was watching it, I saw it as the shadow people were frozen, and she was the only non-frozen one.
Shadow people frozen.
Yeah, I mean, it's easy to, yeah.
I thought it was that. So what I got from it is I thought the shadow men were frozen. The woman was made with no face for the same reason he made that other woman old. Is because he hated women.
That's a good interpretation, actually. I could see
But,
that.
I mean,
that
there's
he
really-
froze, but we didn't see them,
That's-
so.
He definitely
It's all
hates,
anyone's
he
guess.
definitely
No,
hates
I like your interpretation that he only tortured women because he's a terrible incel person.
Right.
But yet, Star Trek does try to offer some sort of empathy as a route towards healing. I'd be curious, they ended this episode with him going back to his people and making a strong, not his people, but to the Thasians.
Mm-hmm.
And they make a strong argument for why that has to be the case. I don't know 100% how that maps onto sort of a reality, like take it out of the sci-fi element. Is the idea saying, okay, this kid's all fucked up and weird, so he's just got to go? Like the best bet is like, yes, you can have empathy for him and how he got here, but he still doesn't get to go back to normal people land. I guess that's the message we take away.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Right? I don't know.
Because the Antares guys were like, this guy's got to go.
Yeah.
Right. So anyway, we had Lizard Lady, Judo Sam, young to old woman, and No Face woman. They all came back, and then of course we get to see that Yeoman Rand comes back, and we know that she comes back, and this would begin a long series of her falling towards Kirk for comfort. She kind of went towards Kirk for comfort, and she did that a lot. There's the other. So those were creepy. When they're in the fight room, the get high fight room. Kirk called security on fight room. Charlie made Sam disappear, so Kirk called security, and then you see the shot of Charlie going, "I won't let them hurt me." Yeah. And there's this creepy sort of front-on headshot of his face surrounded by darkness, except his eyes have light around him. And in the background, there's a classic, there's this rainbow of turquoise, red, green, orange, violet. Violet. You can't hurt him. There's some kind of sea foam. There's a purple.
He's
there's
not gonna let you hurt him.
But yeah, right. So then that was and that was conveyed by that fucking creepy light across his eyes. Yeah.
I like the part where Spock and Kirk are like, maybe he's not human. And McCoy is like, no, he's human. I checked the ratio of his fingers and toes.
Right. That was kind of arbitrary.
He's got 10 fingers.
It's like DNA was discovered in 1953, guys.
Right.
I mean,
but you're looking at his fingers.
You're looking at the ratio of his fingers and toes is exactly.
He's got 10 fingers.
Exactly where it needs to be.
10 fingers, 10 toes. They look about the right length.
There was when
he's got teeth.
When the Kirk is doing that whole going to your quarters, and a couple other points in the thing in this episode, there's a music riff that we do hear in Star Trek 2. Star Trek.
There was a part of it that sounded a little like a TAS riff to me too.
There's music that early on here gets used later in TAS in the movies, even beyond that, which is kind of cool. So, anything else? Any other odds and ends?
I get the when another creepy to Rand moment when she goes he tells her not to lock the door. She's like, "I'll lock it when I please. What is it you want anyways?" And he goes, "You." And then he walks creepily toward the camera. That was fucked up.
Because he's a rapist.
Yeah.
That was totally rapey.
And then there was, this part was, this part was more humorous, right? Before they put him behind the force field. He's just mumbling to himself. He goes, "He had a mean look. I had to freeze him. I like happy looks." Do you remember that part? Before he went in, it was he was mumbling to himself.
Well, I was thinking about just sort of the real life situation with the old lady, young gal, where he takes the young lady and turns her into an old lady, because the director had to go to the actress. And the actress is all like, "All right, what's my motivation here?"
Right.
And the director's like, "All right, so you're a young woman and you've just turned into you."
Yeah, right. I would
scream.
Right.
Scream.
You ever think about that when you see an actor that's supposed to be playing a part where there's there's
some sort of socially undesirable.
Yeah, there's something about them that's that they have to point out about themselves.
Society is upset by because society sucks.
How do they do the casting call for that? Do they say you have to be comfortable with making fun of yourself or pointing out your flaws, or do they just drop it on them after they get the part? They're like, "Oh, by the way, we hired you because you look like this."
I think back in the day,
in the pig book.
I think back in the day,
what the pig book?
I think back in the day, there probably was something along those lines where it was like, "Hey, if you want work, you're going to do what we say." But honestly, in U.S. cinema, often they would just get an attractive person, a socially accepted person in terms of appearance, and then quote unquote ugly them up, which is fucked up.
Yeah.
I think thankfully we've moved into an era where there's a lot less of that. And if there is something having to do with some sort of quote unquote socially undesirable traits, there's a point to it. There's a meaningful and hopefully positive point to it. I'm sure that's not always the case, but I think we've sort of moved heavily in that direction.
Jesse, you pointed out Kirk's green shirt. I noticed that Bones' shirt looked a bit more polyester than Spock's, which looked more cotton. They probably were both polyester, but
he had a shiny doctor shirt.
Yeah, he had a shiny shirt. And speaking of Spock and McCoy, when McCoy was all probes have been known to be wrong, Spock. And then Spock goes, Doctor, are you speaking scientifically or emotionally?
Yeah.
Like that's like Spock giving McCoy the old fuck you again. Like that was a
great exchange.
It was like it was a real fuck you because like McCoy was just saying something and Spock was like, "Hey, you mean stupid fart face?"
All right.
Yeah.
I think we've done everything we need to do with regard to this episode, Charlie X. I enjoyed this episode. It's a weird one, but
what about Yeoman Janice? Is she dead, gone, destroyed?
Destroyed.
Dead, gone.
We got to see topless Shatner, which was cool.
Yeah. Totally.
All sorts of crazy business. So anyway,
he just wanted people to like him.
I'm looking forward to seeing what the algorithm spits out for us next week. I think we're going to target a Voyager episode.
Tense.
So we'll try to go for whatever the top Voyager episode is on that list. That's my guess.
Voyager.
We'll see what the algorithm does because we might have to go in a different direction. But my guess is I'm just guessing that it might be a Voyager.
Oh, I'm sorry. Why wasn't Uhura more freaked out that she lost her voice suddenly when she was singing? She should have been really freaked out by that.
Well, because as we've seen on Strange New World, she's already dealt with a bunch of crazy shit.
Yeah.
She was just like, this is.
So she just loses her voice, then goes on to telling someone how to play solitaire. Like it's no big deal.
Man.
Yeah. Maybe she thought she had a sort of a Vulcan frog in her throat.
She's a bridge office.
Okay, that's all. Yeah, she is a bridge office.
So next week we'll figure out, keep an eye on our social media. That includes at It's Got Star Trek pretty much everywhere, including now on Mastodon. We're on the 10 Forward social server at It's Got Star Trek. But of course, while it's still around, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook,
Instantgram,
YouTube. For those of you into the whole YouTube thing. YouTube is good. You can also get us at feedback@itsgotstartrek.com if you want to write us a letter or whatever. I don't know.
Write us a letter.
You can go to www.itsgotstartrek.com just for general website stuff. See our episodes, sort by series and all that other, do searches and all that stuff if you want to find particular episodes of the podcast. And yes, coming up soon, we will probably be reaching out to the audience to ask us, we want to get some suggestions from you. We had this idea kind of going off this algorithm idea where we will solicit topics and then you're trying to open a can, Jesse.
What are you talking about?
We will solicit topics. Our plan is to solicit topics and then we'll have a thing randomly pick those topics and we will have to respond to them on air. Mm-hmm. We figure that's...
Can we roll dice?
No, we're gonna have a thing. Maybe it'll be dice. I don't know. It'll be a computer generating thing. It'll pluck it out. Okay. So we want to fill a fucking database with all kinds of Star Trek topic ideas. Mm-hmm. Keep an eye out for that on our social media, and we'll mention it again once that's up there. But anyway, that does it for us this week.
What's the deal with Harry Kim?
That's a very good topic right there.
What's the deal with that guy?
Hope you have a nice week. In the U.S., it's Thanksgiving weekend, so if you're celebrating Thanksgiving, have a nice meal. If not, just have a nice meal regardless. Why not? You don't need a fucking excuse. You don't need a holiday to have a nice time, get together, hang out with people. Just do it. Just go have fun. And then next week, you can listen to more the It's Got Star Trek podcast.
More of that show.
More of the It's Got Star Trek podcast. Yep. Okay, we'll talk to you next week. Bye-bye.
Well, there's no right way to hit a woman.